He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings thou shalt trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler.
He sent an angel to bring me into the place which He prepared in the wilderness where I wanna be. He is our refuge and fortress to lead us in the wilderness where I wanna be. In the wilderness where I wanna be, a place of safety. In the wilderness, it's where I gotta be. He is our shield and buckler. Under His wings, His word we trust. His blood shed back on Calvary to lead us in the wilderness. In the wilderness, where I wanna be, a place of safety. In the wilderness is where I gotta be. In the wilderness, where I wanna be, a place of safety. In the wilderness is where I gotta be. He leads me spiritually. He feeds me completely. He leads me to safety, a place He promised me. He keeps me, protects me, covers me, will forsake me. He'll find me, all I need is get ready, time to flee. In His time, you've got to flee. No turning back, nothing's holding me. The time is right, you've got to flee. The wilderness is where I want to be.
All right. Happy Sabbath, Israel. Let's go ahead and give the choir another round of applause. All right. Now we will have the reading of the law. So if you will turn with me in your books to Exodus chapter 20. And we're going to read verses 1 through 17. And when you get it, my brother, go ahead and read.
All righty. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
All right. And that was the reading of the Ten Commandments. Now let us turn to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12. Ecclesiastes 12, and we're going to read verses 13 and 14. When you get it, my brother, bless the people.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
Yes, sir. And now let us turn to the last book of the Bible, in the last chapter, which will be Revelation chapter 22. And we're going to read verses 14 and 15. When you get it, my brother, go ahead and read.
Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
And there you have it, brothers and sisters, in black and white. We just heard the song saying, I've got the word. And each one of us have the word in our laps as we follow along and read these. The plan of salvation is to fear God and keep his commandments. The whole duty of man is to hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments. Right? So we read that. And we read it in its entirety. So please don't let nobody try to take your crown, Israel. All right? Happy Sabbath yet again. I'm Brother Judah. Reading for me today is Brother Lewis. Right? I just want to take this time and, man, it's good to be home, first and foremost. Right? And let us give God the glory that he deserves for bringing us together yet again on another Sabbath day. I cannot stand before you on my own will. It is only with thus saith the Lord. Children's class, since I'm being signaled by the kids. Children's class. It is a beautiful thing that the children love attending their class, right? So we highly encourage the parents
If you have not already, sign up, get involved, see what they learning in this children's class, right? Because we can learn a lot from these children. I know I have. With that being said, I think we got everybody in there. Okay, cool. You got enough chairs, brother? All right, so today's subject and topic is a prophet like unto Moses, right? And like all these lessons that we deal with, how they say in the world, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? And so we're talking about a prophet like unto Moses. And in order to identify what this prophet looks like, we have to know of a surety what Moses looked like, the circumstances surrounding Moses. What was his life like? What was his walk like? Because we read that you will know them by their fruits, right? We got all this hoopla about names and pronunciations and transliterations and all that. But when it comes down to the actions of the individuals out of this book, when it comes to Jesus, first and foremost, or anyone that's supposed to claim or claims that they're Christian, which means Christ-like. So now we're looking for a prophet like, this is the same like unto Moses, right? So we have to be able to identify him as he comes on the scene, because there may be controversy around the name, right? But the actions, ain't nobody discussing that. There's no disagreement when it comes to what Christ did, right? With the majority of us, right? Common sense wise. So, without further ado, let us get into this lesson titled, A Prophet Like Unto Moses. The objective of today is to point out all the similarities of this prophet like unto Moses that the Lord said he was going to raise up to guide his children to eternal salvation. Deuteronomy 18 is where we're going to kick this off at, which is also where we get the title. Deuteronomy 18, we're going to pick it up at verse 15. And we're going to read verses 15 through 19. And when you get it, my brother, bless the people.
Yes, sir. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken, according to all that thou desirest of the Lord thy God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, Let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God, neither let me see his great fire any more, that I die not.
Okay, so we're talking about, right off the bat, a prophet like unto Moses, right? A prophet from the midst of thee, thy brethren. So this prophet, if he's from the midst of you, what is he going to look like? He going to look like you, right? It's too easy, right? Then he reminds them. He says in verse 16, according to all that desirous of the Lord thy God in Horeb, right? In the day of the assembly, saying. Now he's pointing this out. Why is he pointing this out? To let us know exactly which Lord we are talking about. Yes, we're talking about that Lord that when he spoke, you said to Moses, hey, you go deal with the Lord, because we can't deal with it, right? So he's pointing that out as an identifying marker. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 17. And the Lord said unto me, They have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him.
This is the whole lesson right here in these verses, right? The Lord said yet again, and I like to remember that when I was in high school, And my teacher told me, when you hear something more than once come out of the teacher's mouth, pay attention to it. It might be on the test. And she was always correct, right? So here we go. The Lord said yet again, I will raise up a prophet like unto you, like you, from amongst your brethren, from amongst your people, right? And then he said, and you supposed to hearken. Hearken means listen. You're supposed to listen to this man. And it tells you, if you don't listen to him, he said, I will require it of you, right? So again, we just want to make sure we identifying who is going to be this prophet like unto Moses and the circumstances in which Moses came up, right? Because you will know them by their fruits, right? So let's read some similarities. But before we do that, like we said before, we gotta make sure we understand what Moses was, how Moses looked, how his walk looked, the circumstances surrounding Moses, right? So we can identify the prophet that's going to come up like him. Exodus 1.
Exodus 1. Yes, sir.
Exodus 1. Exodus 1, we're going to pick it up at verse 1, and then we're going to do some skipping. And when you get it, my brother, go ahead and read.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob.
All right. Self-explanatory, right? We just identifying and starting at a starting place. Now, if you are taking notes, get you a piece of paper, 2 columns. Easy. Moses, question mark, prophet. Or you can put Jesus in there, spoiler alert, right? Skip down to verse 5 and go ahead and pick it up.
And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and it increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmakers to afflict them with their burdens.
Taskmasters.
I'm sorry. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom, and Ramesses.
Yes, sir.
But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel.
Okay, so let's recap on that real quick, right? It says, the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and were multiplied and waxed exceeding mightily, right? And that's in verse 7. This is what spooked the Pharaoh, right? Oppression has been on, we can track oppression all the way back to the slave ships and further, right? Because we understand simply by reading the word of God that our black history don't just start at slavery. There's a past to that, right? There's a situation or circumstances that took place that landed us in slavery in the first place, right? So we acknowledge that. So when we look at this footprint of oppression and how the more oppressed they were, the more they multiplied. And that hasn't changed in 2025, right? Israel got some babies, man. I'm talking just this past week, running across family, meeting people for the first time. Done went to high school with them. You see what I'm saying? But this is where we at. We talking about the oppression pattern, right? And what it does to a people. And when all you have is to turn to yourselves and to your spouses, babies get to popping up, right? Go ahead. It talked about, it says, They dealt wisely with us, right? The numbers were so great that the Pharaoh said, hey, listen, if we get into a fight, they're going to join the enemy. So let's go ahead and deal with them. So they set taskmasters over them, right? They use words like multiplied several times. Several times they multiplied. Skip down to verse 15. Go ahead, bro.
And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah.
Uh-huh.
And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women,
Right.
and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive.
Okay, so here we go, right? The king went and spoke to the Hebrew midwives. Hey, listen, when you in there and you doing what the midwives do and you delivering them children, if it be a male child, kill him. But if it's a female child, a woman child, go ahead and leave them alive. The purpose behind that is extermination.
Yep.
The man carries the seed, right? So whatever your father is what you are. Does that make sense to everybody? We clear on that, right? So with that being said, this was is still a common knowledge amongst humans and people today. This is still a common knowledge. Now, people may act like they don't know, and some people might not actually know. But there are people that are in charge of certain things that they do know this, right? Because there's a whole lot of argument and a whole lot of material you can look up where it comes to our people, right? The original Christians, the original Hebrews of this book, where they've tried several times throughout the history that we do know of, after slavery, supposedly free, where they tried to exterminate black people as a whole, right? We talk about, what is that, abortion and how that came about. We talk about all these different things. Tuskegee Airmen, right? They love to experiment on us, right? So this has not changed either. But the midwives fear God. Now we're not doing that. We're not rolling with it, not accepting it, right? Skip down to verse 21. Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive.
Now, make this note. Every male, he said it again, every male he wanted gone. He wanted to kill them, right? Now, you can keep your daughters alive, but the males got to go, right? So now, let us turn to Exodus.
2.
What's up?
No, go
You
ahead.
got another
Chapter
one?
2. We just right here, chapter 2, right?
Oh, Exodus 2. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Exodus 2. Let us turn to Exodus 2, pick it up at verse 1, right? And go ahead and read.
And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off, to wit what would be done to him.
Read.
And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it.
Okay, so where we at so far, right? Now remember, all the male children are supposed to be killed. Moses' mother and father, right? They are of the house of Levi. And a lot of people might not know that little fact, but it plays an important role in his life, right? Moses himself was of the tribe of Levi. He was a Levite. His parents looked on him. His mama seen that he was a goodly child. I can't do it. Not gonna do it. right? Wrapped him up, sent him up the river. The Pharaoh himself, his daughter comes along. Let's see what happens. Go ahead and read.
And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children.
How many times have you seen a baby that when they wept, you didn't have some type of compassion on them?
Yep.
During this time, her own father gave the order to kill all male children. She was able to identify him ASAP. As soon as she opened up that basket, this is one of the Hebrew babies. She knew exactly who he was just by looking at him. Right? Read.
Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him out of the water.
So the Pharaoh's daughter, her father gave a decree, I want all Hebrew male children killed. She takes it upon herself. She says, you know what? I have compassion on this baby. Right? What does she do? She starts to orchestrate. Now, the sister helped out. Hey, what you need me to do? I can go over here. I can get one of the Hebrew women to nurse them up for you. Huh? And that's what it did. That's a good idea. Go do that. Look at the Lord's hand in this. Of all people, the Pharaoh's daughter then had compassion. Something completely opposite of what the Pharaoh had. Raised him up. Not only did she have him raised up by his own mother, she was compensated for it. Look at the Lord's hand, brothers and sisters. Because you have to identify this when it happens in your life. This is how you apply. It's not just by happenstance that you got that promotion on your job. It's not just by happenstance that you was cured from an ailment. But when you have no understanding of the true and living God, you chalk it up to, oh, what a coincidence. Right? But this Hamite, this Egyptian, knew what was going on, right? She knew everything what was going on, and she still did what she did. The mother raised the child, right? Now we get into the name. This was particular to me. This was stood out to me. Is Moses a Hebrew name or an Egyptian name? Because we talking about the work of the Lord. Don't get caught up in that buffoonery, right? You can get names wrong, but what you can't, because you know them by their fruit. And this is going to come up again, brothers and sisters. The fruit of what it is that you do as a child of God is either going to get you a seal or it's not going to get you a seal, right? It's your fruit. Where we at? We left off at 10?
Yeah, that was it for that one.
Okay, so now let's turn to Matthew chapter 2. Matthew chapter 2, because this event that took place as far as the male children being hunted is going to come up again, right? Because we want to identify a prophet like unto Moses. So whoever this prophet is, he got to have that same situation in his lifetime. But we're going to read and see who it is, right? Matthew chapter 2, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Matthew chapter 2 and verse 1. For those of y'all who's taking notes, the first one, right? Sons being killed, or however you want to label that. We about to see who this lines up with. Matthew 2, pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead, bro.
Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him.
Already we got a few things you could point out, a couple nuggets here and there. Because it said there came 3 wise men, right, from the east to Jerusalem. It ain't
Wise
say nothing
men.
about no 3 nothing.
Yeah.
Fairy tales. But it's for the kids. What's for the kids? The lie that you telling? This is the society we live in today, right? It says, and they knew, they asked Herod a specific question. Where is he that was born king of the Jews? Now, if Herod was a real Jew, why didn't he know the answer to this question? Just a question. Go ahead and read, my brother.
When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him.
He was troubled because he was a troubled man. Hurt people hurt people. It's right here. We reading it in real time. Herod was so worried about his position, his status quo in life, that he was willing and did take out anybody he thought was challenging his position. Right? Skip down to verse 7. Go ahead and read.
Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, Go and search diligently for the young child, and when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also.
Now he must have forgot who he was talking to, because the book called him wise. You ain't mentioned nothing about another king, let alone the king of the Jews. You not even a real Jew. You asking us questions in private, let's not forget, about his location. I know you. I'm looking right at you. I'm talking with you. This still goes on in real time today. You ever come across somebody and they trying to pull the wool over your eyes? And you like, bro, but we talking right now. You lying to me. This is what we dealing with, right? These are wise men. Where we at? Skip down to 11. Go ahead and read.
And when they were coming to the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh.
And see, reading this, the gifts that these wise men brought were prophesied. This is in real time for them. Frankincense, myrrh, these treasures were brought, right? And they were prophets. These were talked about already. Go ahead and read, bruh.
And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way.
Yes, sir.
And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeareth to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt.
And flee where?
Into Egypt.
And flee into Egypt. Now, where does the story of Moses take place to start off at? In Egypt. Uh-oh. Starting to look similar, right? Are we tracing? Starting to look real similar. We in Egypt already. So we got the place, right? Go ahead and read.
And be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
Ain't that what happened in Moses' time? Right? When Moses was a baby, before he was sent up that river, what was told to them? Kill all the male Hebrews in Egypt. We got to get rid of them. They stronger and mightier than we. I'm going to talk to the midwives because they right there. Right there at the root. We can cut it off. Bow. Right? Same thing happened. Go ahead and read.
When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt have I called my son. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the coast thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men.
Okay, so here we go. Herod sent out a decree, right? Kill all the male children 2 years and younger. It took Herod 2 years to figure out the wise men had pulled the wool over the eyes of his eyes. And he was trying to do that to them, right? But again, we dealing with God's people, right? Verse 15, it says, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. Right? This was by the mouth of a prophet. So here we have the same similar situation. All the male children in Moses' time was killed, except for Moses. Moses was the only one in his generation that made it. Right? So when Moses died, a whole generation died. Same thing with Jesus, as we just read. Herod said, hey, we done did the math. Everybody in this age bracket got to go. Now this is opposite. It's a little different from catching them coming out of the womb to being 2 years old, right? These mothers done and fathers done had some time with their kids. Yeah. Not to say that one's worse than the other. No parent should lose their child. This is hard. But in this case, as a prophet like unto Moses, we are identifying this prophet, right, by his walk and Moses' walk and the situations that surrounded them, right? Did we finish that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let's go to Exodus, turn back to Exodus chapter 2. It says, warned by an angel in a dream, right? Joseph and Mary departed and went out of Egypt another way. Wise men went ahead, hey, let's get up out of here. This is what's going on, right? Just left Herod. He tripping. We got to go, right? So they were able to depart another way, and they went into Egypt. Excuse me, left out of, they went into Egypt. All right, where we picking? Exodus 2? Pick it up.
11.
Yep, pick it up at verse 11. Exodus 2 and verse 11. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren, and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting the Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian, and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thy fellow?
Okay, so here we go. We back at Moses, right? And we identifying some situations going on here. Moses already knew he was a Hebrew. The scripture read that when he went out unto his brethren, right? Because that's what he wanted to do. There's a natural draw there. If you are a stepchild, there is a natural draw to, hey, where did I come from? Right? At least it was for me. I understand what that feels like. Well, what was my parents really like? Where did I come from? Why am I the way that I am? Right? These are natural and organic questions. So when that feeling came upon Moses, he was just simply trying to go out and look and be around his brethren, right? And see what was going on. And what happened? He seen an Egyptian smiting his brother. Mm-hmm. And what did he do? Naturally, he looked around, made sure he wasn't going to get caught, mm-hmm. and killed him. Mm-hmm. Buried him in the sand. Now, most of us read this and we read right past, man, what takes a man from 0 to 100 that quick? And we don't identify with Moses. But this is who Moses was. He was a Hebrew. And it bothered him that an Egyptian smote his brother. Does it bother us? Right? Let's read. Where we at?
14.
14, let's go.
And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known.
So now Moses got to hightail it up out of there. Why? Because he's in trouble. They knew who he was. These are his people. He like, hey, why y'all fighting amongst each other? Man, who are you? You gonna kill us like you killed the Egyptian? Not even factoring in, he killed an Egyptian that was smiting his brethren. But this is how Israel is. The whole crabs in the barrel mentality. Right? Go ahead and read, bro.
Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well.
Now Moses had to run. He was running for his life at this point. He got to go, right? Read.
Now the priests of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled their troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock.
See, this ain't hard to understand because we just read Moses killed the man. So he good with his hands. So when they was coming and trying to take advantage of the sisters, what did he do? He stood up for them. Brothers, he stood up for some sisters that he had never met before. But he knew that they was like him. At least he knew wrong. Right? He knew wrong. Go ahead and read.
And when they came to Ruel, their father, he said, how is it that ye are come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us, and watered the flock.
Now, why would they think he was Egyptian? Because he looked like one. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. His name too. Go figure. Moses is an Egyptian name. But ain't nobody gonna argue that. You ever heard one of these Hebrews who gets caught up in the name? How they try to say Moses? Moshe. Huh? That don't, but you don't apply that when it comes to Jesus' name. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we gotta, the weightier matters is what we dealing with, right? You will know them by their fruits.
21,
Where we at?
21.
21? Go ahead and read.
And Moses was content to dwell with the man. And he gave Moses Zipporah his daughter, and she bare him a son, and called his name Gershom.
Read.
For he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land.
Read.
And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage. And they cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage.
So it says in 23, and it came to pass in the process of time that the king of Egypt died. Right? And Israel did what? They cried in unison. When you cry in unison, Israel, the Lord pays attention to that. Right? Where we finished that?
Yes, sir.
Exodus chapter 3. Because that bondage was hard on them. That bondage was hard on them. They had to cry out. Right? They cried. Exodus 3, pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read.
Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb.
Read.
And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
Read.
And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt.
That would have caught anybody's attention, right? Read.
And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses.
Wait a minute. The Lord didn't call him by his Hebrew name? What he call him?
Moses, Moses.
Okay, read.
And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground.
So there's a standard. There's some rules he got to follow. Moses is getting these rules, right? He say, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. Go ahead and read.
Verse 10.
Skip down to verse 10.
Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt.
Right? So now he got his marching orders. We gonna send you forth to Pharaoh, right? And you gonna bring my people out of Egypt. I'm gonna send you into Egypt to go get my people and come out, right? Exodus chapter 4. Let's pick it up at Exodus 4 at verse 10, then we're gonna skip. Exodus 4 and verse 10. Go ahead and read, bruh.
And Moses said unto the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto me, thy servant.
Read.
But I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue.
So Moses trying to get out of this. Oh, you want me? Man, you sure? Me? Man, look, I got too much dirt. I can't speak well. Huh? You know I'm slow of tongue. This how Hebrews act though. They be trying to get up. Look, we could fast forward to Jonah. Same situation. Man, I don't want to do that, Lord. Right? But as men of God, that's what it boiled down to. So if you've been running, all right.
14.
Jump down to verse 14. Go ahead and read, my brother.
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. And he said, Is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? I know that he can speak well. And also, behold, he cometh forth to meet thee. And when he seeth thee, he will be glad in his heart.
Here go the Lord hand moving again. Right? It said, but notice it said, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. For trying to get out of the work. Did you know that, brothers and sisters? I never knew that. Not until we came into this truth. Wait a minute. Disobedience. Ain't that what we read? The scriptures say disobedience is like witchcraft. Wow. Right? But here we are. Moses. He was trying to get out of the work. Right? Then the Lord already hollered at Aaron on the side. I need you to go see Moses. He say, ain't your brother Aaron the Levite? He on his way to meet you. Stop giving me excuses, Moses. Read.
15. And thou shalt speak unto him, and put words in his mouth, and I will be with thy mouth, and with his mouth, and will teach you what ye shall do.
Okay, skip down to verse 19, because the Lord is in charge here. He's going to put these words in the mouth of Moses. And Moses, in return, is going to turn around and put them words in his brother's mouth, Aaron, who is also a Levite, right? Skip down. We finished 19?
No, we got to read that one.
Okay,
right. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, hit 19.
And the Lord said unto Moses in Midian, Go, return into Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought thy life.
Right? And isn't that what we read about when Joseph and Mary fled? Right? We need you to get up out of here till this thing blow over. Right? So we can check those boxes if you keeping up in your notes. Right? Same life situations going on here. Matthew chapter 2. Matthew chapter 2. Because he just said, all the men that sought your life, when you fled Moses, they gone. They sleep. Right? Matthew chapter 2 and verse 19. We're going to see this same thing being told to Joseph and Mary. We're going to see this exact same thing. Go ahead and read, bruh. Matthew 2 and 19.
But when Herod was dead,
Uh-huh.
behold, an angel of the Lord appeareth in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead which sought the young child's life.
Did we not just read this in Exodus? We just turned from that. The exact same thing was said. So show me another place in the book, in this Bible, where that happened to another prophet. Can't do it. The title of the lesson is A Prophet Like Unto Moses. Him you shall hearken to. Hearken meaning listening. Then he dropped the other shoe, because if you don't listen to him, it's going to be a problem. Right? We finished that, my brother?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let us turn back to Exodus chapter 7. Exodus chapter 7, we're going to pick it up at verse 1. We're going to be in and out of Exodus, so you probably should keep your marker there. I should have said that earlier. So we have all these similarities so far. We got Egypt, right? We got place. We got the situation where the males, the rest of the males in both their generations were killed, right? Exodus chapter 7, pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read, bruh.
And the Lord said unto Moses, See, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land.
Read.
And I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt.
Now we have to pay attention and always factor in, because we're going to read it over and over again. He said, I will harden Pharaoh's heart. Pharaoh reprobate and can't know it. Read.
But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt and bring forth mine armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments.
Read.
And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I stretch forth mine hand upon Egypt and bring out the children of Israel from among them.
And we're going to read this. They're going to be, yeah, man, this is the Lord doing this. They identify the Lord, the true and living God of Israel. They acknowledge him and still don't turn back from their ways. Right? Skip down to verse 14 and read, bruh.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hardened. He refuses to let the people go.
Read.
Get thee unto Pharaoh in the morning. Lo, he goeth out unto the water, and thou shalt stand by the river's brink against he come. And the rod which was turned to a serpent shalt thou take in thine hand. And thou shalt say unto him, The Lord God of the Hebrews hath sent me unto thee, saying, Let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness. And behold, hitherto thou wouldest not hear. Thus saith the Lord, In this thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in mine hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned to blood.
Okay, so the Lord done already told Moses how this thing gonna play out. Listen, I'm gonna send you over there, but he ain't gonna let you go just yet, because I got some more things I want to do to him. I want to put these hands on him, right? So that's exactly what okay, I got it, Lord. Look, I'm gonna go over there, I'm gonna tell him what you said, and then he gonna not let the people go, and then you gonna do what you do. Got it, cool. And that's what happens, but he tells Moses, you gonna take that rod in your hand, that staff in your hand, and you gonna touch that water, right? And the water gonna turn to blood. Skip down to verse 20, go ahead and read.
And Moses and Aaron did so as the Lord commanded. And he lifted up the rod and smote the waters that were in the river, in the sight of Pharaoh and in the sight of his servants. And all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood.
Read.
And the fish that was in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink of the water of the river. And there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt.
So the Lord did what the Lord said he was going to do. when that rod touched that water gonna become blood. That's exactly what Moses, we just read, and Moses and his brother Aaron did as the Lord commanded. And that water became blood, right? Where we at?
22.
Read.
And the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened. Neither did he hearken unto them as the Lord had said.
So the Pharaoh's men, right? His enchanters or his what they call them here, magicians, right? They was able to do some trickery. Oh, we got that. We could do that too. I'd have been like, well, turn it back clear, because I'm thirsty. You know what I'm saying? Like the common sense, man. It'd be all the way out the window, right? But that's not what he asked for. Again, when the Lord turned you every way but loose, that's it. Stop fighting it. You just got to go with it. Ain't nothing you can do, right? And that's what the Lord did. He turned the river, the waters into blood. All the while, he's hardening the Pharaoh's heart, right? Exodus chapter 8. Now, keep in mind, we got one plague so far, right? Now, there's going to be 3 plagues. These first 3 plagues are going to affect both Israel and Egypt, right? These first 3. Exodus 8, pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read, bro.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, Go unto Pharaoh, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Let my people go, that they may serve me. And if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs.
Read.
And the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into thine house, and into thy bedchamber, and upon thy bed, and into thy house of thy servants, and upon thy people, and into thine ovens, and into thine kneading troughs.
Now, these frogs going to come up, and they're going to come up abundantly, and they're going to be everywhere, right? When I first landed in Afghanistan, it wasn't frogs, it was iguanas. Now, frogs, you know, you get a bullfrog, you probably talking about 3 pounds, 3 to 5 pounds, right? But these iguanas, these body alone, and then with the tail, and they crawling all up under your bunks. Man, look, let me tell you something. You sleeping with your weapon, right? Where we at?
Verse 6.
Verse 6. Skip down to 6 and go ahead and read.
And Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt.
So once again, the Lord did what the Lord said he was going to do. Frogs on the land, right? Plague number 2 affects everybody, Israel included. Jump down to verse 8 and read, bruh.
Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, Entreat the Lord, that he may take away the frogs from me and from my people, and I will let the people go, that they may do sacrifice unto the Lord.
Skip down to verse 13. Go ahead.
And the Lord did according to the word of Moses, and the frogs died out of the houses, out of the villages, and out of the fields. And they gathered them together upon heaps, and the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that there was respite, he hardened his heart, and hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said. And the Lord said unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Stretch out thy rod, and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt.
Okay, so far, right? Pharaoh said, "Hey, can y'all stop this? Can you go and treat the Lord?" Right? Moses goes and does that, right? Or does that? Excuse me. Told y'all I couldn't talk, right? So Moses goes and does that, right? But what happens? Pharaoh hardened his heart again. But ain't that what the Lord said? The Lord said he was going to do it, so he going to keep doing it. Right? So that's exactly what happened. The whole while it's been stinking, right? They done got rid of the frogs, but now the Lord said, smite the dust of the land. And when I was studying this lesson, and Brother Bowie made the point, the fact that as soon as you got out the shower, and this is science, as soon as you get out the shower, you start generating dirt again. Your skin, you always aging. It's part of this curse, right? Death. So the dust that's already on your body, once that dust got smite from the land, all the dust became lice. You already got lice on you. Kind of strange, right? Lice bite. So now you just in a discomfort all day long. You just
Fiend.
don't want nobody touching you in your space, huh? Man, come on and read. Where we at, bruh?
17.
Let's go.
And they did so, for Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast. All the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt.
We just read it. He said, and it became lice where? In man and in beasts. Everybody, and back then, they, I don't know if you've been around soft sand, but it stays in the air. It just be gliding just till it land on something. And that's it. Right?
19.
Skip down to 19 and go ahead, my brother.
Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. And
Read, yes, sir.
And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said.
Now, these magicians said, what? Wait a minute. This one we can't replicate. This is the true and living God. God of the Hebrews. This they God. That's who we dealing with. He upset right now. That's what we read, right? So the first three plagues, we got the water to blood, we got the frogs, and then we got the lice. Affected everybody, right? Including Israel. Skip down to 29 and go ahead. Let's not forget, Pharaoh's heart is still hard, right?
24?
24. I'm sorry, go ahead, 24.
Yes, sir. And the Lord did so, and there came a grievous swarm of flies into the house of Pharaoh, and into his servants' houses, and into all the land of Egypt. The land was corrupted by reason of the swarm of flies. And Pharaoh called for Moses and for Aaron and said, go ye, sacrifice to your God in the land. Okay, so here's the first plague that does not affect Israel, right? And what did the Pharaoh say? Hey man, y'all get up out of here. Because now you got flies in the same type of multitude situation as the frogs. I don't know about you, but I used to hear that saying about flies coming up, because that's just who my pops was. Negroes and flies, right? they just tearing it up. You be at the picnic, they all in your food, like they don't go anywhere. Flies don't respect nothing. They got a job to do. They just want to do their job and be flies, right? So this is what we dealing with. Flies everywhere. 26, go ahead and read. 26, okay. And Moses said, it is not meet so to do, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to the Lord our God. Lo, shall we sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes, and will they not stone us?
Because the Egyptians don't care for Hebrews, right? Now y'all sacrificing? We don't acknowledge your God, even though his own magicians did, right? When it came to the light, hey, we can't duplicate this one. No, sir, we not real. Nope. Where we at?
That was 26.
26, go ahead and read.
Okay. We will go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God as he shall command us.
Read.
And Pharaoh said, I will let you go, that ye may sacrifice to the Lord your God in the wilderness. Only ye shall not go very far away. Entreat for me.
Right. Skip down to verse 30 and go ahead.
And Moses went out from Pharaoh and entreated the Lord. And the Lord did according to the word of Moses. And he removed the swarm of flies from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people. There remained not one.
Now look at the Lord doing this. Only the Lord can do that. Right? He removed them, right? And he's answered. Every time Moses goes and talks to the Lord do what? He react to Moses. Okay, got you. It's all a part of the Lord's plan. Obedience is better than sacrifice. You got the Lord's ear. When you can show him, listen, I'm listening to you and I'm executing. I'm doing it the way you had me to do it, Lord. right? And when you go to entreat the Lord, guess what? What you need, son? What you need, my daughter? Got you, right? He take care of it. Where we at?
32.
Read.
And Pharaoh hardened his heart at this time also, neither would he let the people go.
Okay? So after the first 3 plagues, God put a division between Egypt, right, and Goshen, where Israel was, right? So this is what we read in Exodus chapter 9. So we got flies. This was after the separation, right? We got flies. They dealing with Egypt. Exodus 9, pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read.
Then the Lord said unto Moses, Go in unto Pharaoh and tell him, Thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, Let my people go, that they may serve me.
Read.
For if thou refuse to let them go and withhold them still, behold, the hand of the Lord is upon thy cattle, which is in the field, upon the horses, upon the asses, upon the camels, upon the oxen, upon the sheep. There shall be a very grievous murraing.
Read.
And the Lord said, Sever between cattle of Israel and the cattle of Egypt, and there shall nothing die of all that is the children of Israel.
Y'all hear that? The Lord said, I'm going to take care of y'all because you're being obedient and you're being patient, right? Because this process, we got to trust the process and let the process play out because the Lord is in control, right? So he said, okay, I'm going to make sure, now I'm going to touch their pockets, right? I'm going to touch their pockets now. Livestock, whatever belongs to them, we're going to get rid of it. Go ahead and read, bruh.
Verse 5. And the Lord appointed a set time, saying, Tomorrow the Lord shall do this thing in the land. And the Lord did that thing on the morrow, and all the cattle of Egypt died, but of the cattle of the children of Israel died not one.
Right? So all the cattle of the children of Israel live. The Egyptian cattle died out. Just like the Lord said he was going to do. Once again, the Lord doing what he said he was going to do. Right? Ain't no arguing with that. Verse 7, go ahead and read.
And Pharaoh sent, and behold, there was not one of the cattle of the Israelites dead. And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go.
Read.
And the Lord said unto Moses and unto Aaron, Take to you handfuls of ashes of the furnace, and let Moses sprinkle it toward the heaven in the sight of Pharaoh. And it shall become small dust in all the land of Egypt, and shall be a ball breaking forth with blains upon man and upon beasts throughout all the land of Egypt.
Read.
And they took ashes of the furnace and stood before Pharaoh, and Moses sprinkled it up toward heaven, and it became a ball breaking forth with blains upon man and upon beast.
So now boils is into the equation. I don't know if you ever had or seen or heard about boils. Very uncomfortable, right? So we got flies, the cattle, and now boils on man and beast. The beast got boils. Go ahead and read.
Verse 11. And the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boil was upon the magicians and upon all the Egyptians.
I could imagine that. Listen, man, why you keep calling us out here, bruh? We ain't, you know, what's that pink stuff, calamine lotion? Huh? Listen, because it's everywhere. It's on the bottom of your feet. You can't stand. It's on your back and on your stomach. You can't lay down. It's on your head. You can't think. Go ahead and read, bro.
Verse 12. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had spoken unto Moses.
The Lord said he was going to do it, and that's what he did. Right? Skip down to verse 18. Go ahead and read.
Behold, tomorrow about this time I will cause it to rain a very grievous hail, such as hath not been in Egypt since the foundation thereof, even unto now. Send therefore now and gather thy cattle and all that thou hast in the field, for upon every man and beast which shall be found in the field and shall not be brought home, the hail shall come down upon them, and they shall die.
Okay, so now we got some more instructions. Another plague coming, right? Boils, now hail. Notice the beasts keep catching the aftermath of whatever the Egyptians did. I know these beasts like, man, can one of you Hebrews take me home with you? this ain't it. Right? Skip down to 22 and read, bruh.
Yes, sir. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch forth thine hand toward heaven, that there may be hail in all the land of Egypt, upon man and upon beast, and upon every herb of the field throughout the land of Egypt.
Right? Because that hail destroys crops. Hail destroys crops. Too much rain can destroy a crop. Right? Skip down to verse 25 and read, brother.
And the hail smote throughout all the land of Egypt, all that was in the field, both man and beast, and the hail smote every herb of the field, and brake every tree of the field.
Right? Skip down to 35 and read.
And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, neither would he let the children of Israel go, as the Lord had spoken by Moses.
Right? So we got flies, the killing of cattle, boils, and hail. And this is just Egypt. This ain't affecting Israel. This is just Egypt. See how the Lord put that divide there? That's just like when he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. The outskirts was okay. Right? The Lord look, man, he is one shot, one kill. It ain't a target he can't hit. Right? Exodus, let's turn Exodus chapter 10. Exodus 10, pick it up at verse 3. Go ahead and read, bruh.
And Moses and Aaron came in unto Pharaoh and said unto him, thus said the Lord God of the Hebrews, how long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me?
Oof.
Let my people go, that they may serve me.
Read.
Else, if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring the locusts into thy coast.
So now we got another situation coming, right? Another plague coming. And he done told us about it. Now, by this point, if you can't get right, the Lord keep telling, hey, listen, man, I'm going to bust your head every time I see you stand outside on the porch. I'm not going outside. However, I would also like to believe and understand I ain't reprobate, right? Because you don't know when you are. That's the point, right?
12.
Go ahead, skip down to 12 and go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand over the land of Egypt for the locusts, that they may come up unto the land of Egypt, and eat every herb of the land, even all that the hail hath left. And Moses stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought an east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts.
Okay, so the Lord done brought locusts this time. And what are the locusts doing? They eating the crops again. Now, remember when the hail came, the hail destroyed all the crops. So there's a time period, right? Because it takes time for crops to regrow. And as soon as they get ready to, hey man, we about that harvest time, here come the locusts. Read, bruh.
14. And the locusts went up over all the land of Egypt, and rested in all the coast of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall be such. For they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened. And they did eat every herb of the land, and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left. And there remained not any green thing in the trees or in the herbs of the field through all the land of Egypt.
And there you go, right? So then it does say here, which the hail had left. So there was some, so we got to retract that. There was some plants or some harvest, or what is it called here? Crops, the word they use, that were left behind from the hail, right? And it says whatever was left, and there remained not any green thing in the trees or in the herbs of the field through all the land of Egypt. Again, Israel ain't being affected by this. Right? You read verse 16?
No.
Go ahead and read.
Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron in haste, and he said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Now therefore forgive, I pray thee, my sin only this once, and entreat the Lord your God, that he may take away from me this death only.
Okay, so now the Pharaoh acknowledges the Lord and the way the Lord is. How does the Pharaoh know what sin is? Yeah, he said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you, right? Then he went on to say, now therefore forgive, I pray thee, right? My sin only this once, and entreat the Lord your God. Skip down to 19 and go ahead and read.
And the Lord turned a mighty strong west wind, which took away the locusts, and cast them into the Red Sea. There remained not one locust in all the coast of Egypt.
Right. So he went ahead and removed the locusts, right? On behalf of Moses and Aaron. Go ahead and read.
But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go.
Read.
And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt.
Even darkness which may be felt. I can't even fathom that. 22, go ahead and read.
And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings.
So all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. Once again, the Lord is doing what he said he was going to do. Right? Go ahead and read.
And Pharaoh called unto Moses and said, go ye, serve the Lord. Only let your flocks and your herds be stayed. Let your little ones also go with you. And Moses said, thou must give us also sacrifices and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice unto the Lord our God.
Read.
Our cattle also shall go with us. There shall not an hoof be left behind, for thereof must we take to serve the Lord our God. And we know not with what we must serve the Lord until we come thither.
Right. So now Moses got some get back. Hey, listen, man, we all going. Right. Everything must go. Right. 27. Go ahead.
But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go. And Pharaoh said unto him, get thee from me, take heed to thyself, see my face no more. For in that day thou seest my face, thou shalt die. And Moses said, thou hast spoken well, I will see thy face again no more.
So because Moses made demands, right, on behalf of what the Lord said, Pharaoh's heart got hardened again. Who you talking to? Now ain't nobody going nowhere. You messed that up, Moses, right? Then he said, take heed to thyself. These are threats. Hey man, watch your mouth. I don't know who you think you talking to, but I'm the Pharaoh. I had you dealt with. That was his attitude, right? That's what we read. He said, in the day that thou seest my face, thou shalt surely die. Sound like a threat to me. What Moses say? Okay. Game match set. Here you go. And walked off. Right? Because Moses know who fighting on his side. We talking about the Lord. Let's pick it up at Exodus 12. He said, okay. Thou hast spoken. Moses said, thou hast spoken well. I will see thy face again no more. Cool with me. Right? Exodus 12, pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read, bruh.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
Read.
Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house.
Now skip down to verse 5, because we know already that this lamb it signifies Jesus, right? Skip down to verse 5 and go ahead and read.
Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year.
Read.
Ye shall take it out from the sheep. or from the goats. And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
Man, that verse 6 is very, very interesting. He said, and the whole assembly of the congregation of who? Israel shall kill it in the evening. Man, wonder who that is. Spoiler alert, that's Jesus. Right? Verse 7, go ahead and read.
7, I'm going to keep going and skip to 12. I can keep going, it's up to you.
Yeah, read 7, read 7.
Okay, yes, sir. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper door post of the houses, wherein they shall eat it.
Verse 8.
And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
Skip down to verse 12 and go ahead and read.
For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord.
He said, I am the Lord is going to come through this evening, right? In this land of Egypt, and I'm going to smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt. The Lord going after deities. That's what we read here, right? He going after these other false gods, right? Go ahead and read, bruh.
And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt.
So in order for you not to be smitten, you got to do something. But if you don't believe the Lord is going to do what he said he going to do, you're not going to do it. You're going to be smitten, right? So the faith part comes in when you believe what the Lord said. Hey, he said he going to come through and do some killing if we don't have the blood above our doorposts. What you think we should do? I don't know, man. I don't know about this one, man. That's a little messy for me. Faith gone. You ain't got no faith. Right? Go ahead and read.
Keep going to 29.
Yeah, skip down to 29. Sorry about that.
Yes, sir. And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle.
Again, the Lord did what the Lord said he was going to do. Verse 30.
And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead.
Not a single house in Egypt where there was not one dead. The man that was locked up in the dungeon, it even affected him. In the dungeon. Lord, don't be playing, boy. Go ahead and read.
33.
33.
And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste. For they said, we be all dead men.
So it ain't just the Pharaoh this time. It said the Egyptians was urgent upon them. Yeah. Hey, man, y'all got to go. Go. Get up out of here. Let's go. We going to all die. They didn't believe that the Lord was going to do what he said he was going to do. Right? Skip down to verse 51 and go ahead.
And it came to pass the selfsame day that the Lord did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies.
And it came to pass that same day, right, is when they came out. Now, we got 10 plagues in total. The first 3, the water, the frogs, and the lice, that affected everybody, right? Move that to the side. The next plagues was the flies, killing of the cattle, the boils, hail, locusts, darkness for 3 days, right? And then the death of the firstborn. Those 7 plagues, right? That last one, the death of the firstborn, that's what freed Egypt. right? That's what freed Egypt. Now, once they was free, and they went into the wilderness, because this is what they was asking, right? Let us go into the wilderness that we may sacrifice unto our Lord. Let's see what happened. Revelation 5. I think that's the next one, right? Yeah.
Exodus.
No,
I got
excuse me.
Exodus 15.
Excuse me. Exodus 15.
22.
Exodus 15, verse 22. Yes, sir. Because they were asking to go into the wilderness. They did not go into the land. But we got to make sure. Exodus 15, verse 22. Exodus 15 and 22. Go ahead and read, my brother.
So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water.
Now, why is this significant? Because when Jesus returns, right, just like the children of Israel, they didn't go straight into the land. They went into the wilderness. And we have lessons that covers this in more detail. We're going to touch on it, right? We're going to drive by it, but we ain't going to go into detail.
That was it.
However, it is a situation that we need to line up because we're talking about a prophet like unto Moses. Since we know in reading that this is Jesus, now guess what? The Lord tell you everything he wants you to know for salvation. You got to identify them by their fruit. So once you've identified Jesus, you now know how to move forward, knowing who it is you serving and what it is that he requires of you, right? Revelation 5.
Yes, sir.
Revelation 5, we're going to read verse 1 and then we're going to skip. Now remember them plagues, because the way he chopped it, where the first 3 affected everybody, but then the last 7 only affected the Egyptians, right? We gonna come across that again, because Egypt was the micro, the world where we've been scattered amongst the 4 corners of the earth. The next time he called us and he pulls this, it's the macro. We stepping back. We looking at Egypt because he told us we would go to into Egypt again by way of slave ships, right? So understanding that this is considered our Egypt, right? Revelation 5, pick it up at verse 1.
And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals.
Skip down to verse 5 and read. Now it says this book is sealed, right? Go ahead and read.
And one of the others said unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof.
All right, so it says the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, have prevailed to open this book, right? And we talking about Jesus, none other than Jesus. Revelation 6, pick it up at verse 1. Revelation 6, pick it up at verse 1, and go ahead and read, my brother.
And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, Come and see.
Now remember, we talked about this lamb earlier, right? Well, according to Moses, take the lamb, right, of the first year without blemish, right? Sacrifice him, put his blood over the doorpost, right? Eat, take what you need to eat, and be ready to go, right? We was talking about Jesus then, we talking about Jesus now. Verse 2, go ahead and read, bruh.
And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer.
So now we getting into, because we talked about the plagues of Moses, now we getting into these plagues that are coming for when the Lord is calling us out of Egypt, collectively, right, as a whole. Verse 3, go ahead and read.
And when he had opened the 2nd seal, I heard the 2nd beast say, Come and see.
Okay, so the first seal, right, it let loose the white horse, right? And this is the Pope. It says, what was that, number 3?
Yes, sir, that was
okay,
verse 3.
Verse 4.
And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. and there was given unto him a great sword. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand.
Okay, so then the second horse, right, which was the red horse,
Red horse,
right? That is the horse of war. That's the first plague, brothers and sisters, right? War. Then it said the third seal that was opened, let loose the black horse, right? This is the horse of famine. This is the second plague, right? So we got two plagues. We got war, we got famine. That's two, right? Now, in order for this to be in line with Moses, we need one more plague that's separate, one more plague that affects both Israel and Egypt, right? Because war affects us, right? We here, right? Some of us have been to war. Some of our children or grandchildren are over there at war, correct? Right? Famine. I'm sure a lot of us have had sleep for dinner. This happens, right?
Verse 6.
Verse 6, let's go.
And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine.
Read.
And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him.
Okay. Oh, go ahead and read. Finish that.
And
Yes,
power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beast of the earth.
Okay. So now here's the third plague, right? He said, Behold, a pale horse. This pale horse is death, right? And destruction. This is the third plague. He said, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. A fourth part of the earth, right? We all remember it takes 4 quarters to make $1, right? So a fourth part of the earth, one of them quarters, is going to have this going on. Not all of them, right? Go ahead. However, if you live in that fourth part and you Israel, this still affects you, right? This is going to affect you. So we got war, we got famine, and we got death. The first 3 plagues. Where we at? Skip down to 12.
Okay,
Yeah,
12.
skip down to 12. Go ahead.
And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair. And the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind.
Read.
And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. And said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?
This is the Lamb. This is Jesus, right? The same Jesus that they trying to push, hey, he love everybody. The same Jesus where they telling you he ain't got no rules to living in his house. You can do whatever you want and eat whatever you want. You just got to pray over it. That's a house of chaos. How can you live in a house where there's no rules when the book tells you a house that is divided cannot stand? So the mere thought of anyone in the house that doesn't agree with chaos, guess what? That chaotic house cannot stand. The simplicity of the word. You don't need no degrees. You don't even need to really know how to read. There's been brothers that came into this truth and learned how to read reading this book. Talk to some of these brothers and sisters from Chicago. They know some of these people. Right? But we talking about the wisdom of the Lord here. This is what the Lord's capable of. Right? So you got the great earthquake, right? The sun became black as sackcloth, right? And the moon became as blood, and the stars fell onto heaven, right? Then in verse 14 it talks about, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain, island were moved. Everybody's gonna see these take place. Whether the earth is flat or round, everybody gonna see it. The Lord said he gonna do this, and he gonna do it, right? We done read this over and over again, right? We finished 17?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let us go to Revelation chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7, pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read.
And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God.
So he has the seal. This angel has the seal of the living God. Go ahead and read.
And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea.
Right? Because they coming to do what they supposed to do. This is their job, to come and hurt the earth and the sea. These are soldier angels on a mission. Ain't gonna be no, hold on, wait, give me about 2 minutes. None of that. Right? Read.
Verse 3, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads.
So listen, he said, until we have sealed the servants of our God, not they God, our God, right? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's who we reading about right here. Verse 4, go ahead and read.
And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
Again, this is just for that 1/4 part of the earth is where this is going on at. But you see, in that 1/4 part of the earth where these plagues were affecting everybody, God divides and puts a line in the sand. For that 1/4 part of the earth, the Lord drew a line in the sand and said, hold on, before we continue, seal my servants. Now, going back to the word Christian, and Christian meaning Christ-like, if you don't look like Christ, you ain't getting that seal. Where we at, bruh?
Verse 9.
Let's get it. Verse 9, go ahead and read.
After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands.
So there's no need to get in a frenzy about the 144, right? Like most people, before I came into the truth, I was like, dang, I ain't gonna make it, 144,000, that's it?
Yeah.
Woo! SOL! Right? I'm like, man, that's, woo, yeah, this is a tough walk, right? But I knew, I ain't, I'm gonna have to live it up, right? But understanding, like, oh, okay, hold on, this is for the 1/4 part, right? That's gonna be dealing with this, right? We talking about the 1/4. That's where the 144 come in at, because they were in that 1/4 part of where all this is gonna take place. And the Lord drew a line in the sand and said, wait, hold on. Before we proceed, seal my servants so they don't have to deal with it, right? But them first 3 plagues, the war, the famine, and death, right? The red horse, the black horse, and the pale horse, got to deal with it, right? Got to be able to bob and weave, right? But these next 7, it's only for those who outside of the Lord's umbrella. Where we at?
13.
Let's get it.
And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes? And whence came they?
Because this is the question about everybody that wasn't numbered in the 144,000, right? These are the people who are of all kindreds and nations and tongues. They're also arrayed in white robes. Who are all those people? I know who the 144 are, but who are they? Read.
And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb.
That same blood that when they was in Egypt, right, and they put it over their doorposts, they didn't have to suffer the consequences of being disobedient. Their faith was intact. They applied their faith. You know what? The Lord is batting 3 for 3. I'm putting the blood over my doorpost. By that time, it was 9 for 9, right? Where we at, bruh?
That was the end of that.
That's the end of that?
Yes, sir.
Revelation 8. Revelation chapter 8, pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read.
And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets.
So up until this point, right, we have chemical warfare. The sea turned to blood. The rivers turned to blood, right? We read those, correct? Okay, skip down to 6 and go ahead and read.
And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound.
Right, so they getting ready. They sounding them trumpets, because once you sound them trumpets, once you hear them trumpets, and that's a wrap. That's the Lord's theme music. Y'all seen I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker? Yeah. That's his theme music. When that trumpet blows, it's too late. Revelation 15. Revelation 15. Pick it up at verse 1. We're going to read 1, and then we're going to do some skipping. Revelation 15, pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read, my brother.
And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of God.
The wrath of God is what we just read. This is what they don't teach you in Sunday worshiping. The Lord ain't got no wrath. He love everybody. Kind of hard to have wrath when you love everybody. And you can sin all you want and just ask me for forgiveness later. Don't make no sense. Skip down to verse 6 and read, bruh.
And the 7 angels came out of the temple, having the 7 plagues, clothed in pure and white linen, and having their breasts girded with golden girdles.
Okay, so now we're gonna get into we naming the 7, right? The 7 up and on the 7th one, just like in the 7th one with Moses, Israel gonna be freed, right? Verse 7, go ahead and read.
And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials full of the wrath of God, who liveth forever and ever. Again,
they mentioning the wrath of God, right? He's not coming back with the kumbaya. That's not what's going on here. Revelation 16, pick it up at verse 1 and go ahead and read, bruh.
And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image.
Okay, so here we go. These people are Egyptians by way of the mark of the beast. Not physical Egyptians like they in Egypt. Well, we talking about Egypt as a whole, as a collective, being back in slavery, right? So because they have the mark, that's the line in the sand. That's part of the line in the sand. You either have God's seal or you got the mark of the beast, right? And that too seals you. It just seals you for a different fate. Go ahead and read, bruh.
And the 2nd angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea.
Didn't we read that about the blood, the sea, the sea turning into blood? Wasn't that in Moses' day? Got another simile, another box to check, right? Go ahead and read.
And the 3rd angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and the fountains of waters, and they became blood.
So now we're getting into it. So in verse 2 is where you got the chemical warfare, right? Verse 3 and 4, we talking about the seas and the rivers being turned to blood, right? Skip down to verse 8 and pick it up.
And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire.
Okay, so now we got the sun involved, right? That's another plague. It's scorching men with fire, right? Skip down to verse 10. Go ahead.
And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain.
Didn't we read about this darkness in Moses' day? Right. That same darkness says they gnawed their tongues in pain. Okay, go ahead and read. Skip down to verse 12.
Yes, sir. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared.
Right? So the water of the Euphrates was dried up. Go ahead and read.
And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet.
Right? Because this Euphrates drying up is a how do you say? It's representing. There you go. It's a representative of World War III. Right? Verse 14. Go ahead.
For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty.
So this comes down to one battle of the great day, right, of the God Almighty. Verse 15, go ahead and read.
Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame.
They're going to see your shame if you walk naked, because you're not going to be sealed. You're not under the umbrella of the Lord, right? You're not in his safety. You out there. Go ahead and read 16.
And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon.
And that's where we talking about this last battle, the battle of Armageddon, right? Go ahead and read.
And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air.
What number is this?
7.
The seventh angel, right? Go ahead.
And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, It is done.
See, we talking about the battle of Megiddo. When the Lord say it's done, what you think that means? No. Don't answer that. We just read it. That's the death. It's done. They all here in one place, about to get them all right quick, and we're going to go on about our business. That's his mission. That's what it means. They are finito. They out of here. No longer. That's it. The 7th plague in Moses' day, what? It was the death of the firstborn, right? Then they were led up out of Egypt. This is what this is what releases us out of our Egypt, right? Where we finished that?
Yes, sir. That was
okay.
It, yeah.
Revelation 11. Because we talking about the battle of Armageddon. We know there ain't nothing going on past that. It's a wrap. Another box we could check, the 7th trumpet, right? Revelation 11, pick it up at verse 15. We just got that one.
Yes, sir. And the 7th angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever.
Listen, dark and light cannot coexist. So when this becomes the Lord, as we just read it, everybody that was contrary to, we already read earlier on, if you don't hearken to Jesus, the prophet like unto Moses, when he comes, I will require it of you. It has been required. We just read it, right? Luke chapter 21. Moses went back into Egypt to get Israel, right? So will the Lord do the same? Well, is Jesus not going to follow that? Because again, he's a prophet like unto Moses. That's what we reading. Luke 21. Luke 21, pick it up at verse 20, and then we're going to skip. Go ahead and read, bruh.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
Skip down to verse 24 and read.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
And that's where we at in real time now, the time of the Gentiles. It has not been fulfilled. Fulfilled meaning done, complete, right? Verse 25, read.
And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring.
Read.
Men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken.
Right? And we read these signs. Right? We read what was going to happen. So we already know how this going to play out. Again, the Lord done gave us the whole playbook. All we got to do is read and do what he say. Because what we also read was when the Lord say he going to do something, he going to do it. 27, go ahead and read.
And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory.
Right? Read.
And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh.
We read earlier in another spot when people merely see the cloud, the sky roll back. Fall on us, mountains. They not looking for no redemption. They can't. You already know you messed up. It's a wrap. Right? We finished that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Matthew 24. We got a few more after this and we'll be done. This is a bit of a longer lesson. I'm trying to make sure I ain't doing too much talking. Matthew 24, we're going to pick it up at verse 27. Matthew 24 and 27. When you get it, my brother, go ahead and read.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Skip down to verse 29 and read what that say.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened.
We just read that, right? We just read that the stars and the sun and the moon would all be signs. Go ahead and read.
And the moon shall not give her light. And the stars shall fall from heaven.
Read.
And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Read.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Wait a minute, what you mourning for? If what you believed in at all this time is true, what are you mourning for? Because even us, the children of Israel, those of us who follow this book from Genesis to Revelation, we even read, don't wait on that time. That ain't nothing you should be wishing on. Contrary to popular belief, again, Jesus is not coming back with, hey, come on, y'all, group hug. Where we at?
31.
31, read.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
So that's when he's going to gather us, right? He's going to gather in the same manner and way he did in the time of Moses, what Moses and Aaron did on behalf of the Lord. We're going to go through that exact same situation. It's going to be very similar. Isaiah 27. Isaiah 27. Just like Moses sprang the children of Israel out of captivity, Jesus is going to do the same when he returns. Isaiah 27, pick it up at verse 12. Isaiah 27 and 12. And when you get it, my brother, go ahead and read.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt, and ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel.
And you shall be gathered one by one, right? This is after you make it through the great tribulation. You don't want to be here. So what you want to do is make sure you following this word, and when he told you to flee the first time, you took heed to that, right? Go ahead and read, bruh.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown, and they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria, and the outcasts in the land of Egypt, and shall worship the Lord in the holy mount at Jerusalem.
Again, this is the whole world. This is a collective. This is the macro look at the Moses in Egypt, right? Isaiah 11. It said the great trumpet will blow. We talking about that seventh trumpet. The seventh trumpet. The last trump. Isaiah 11, pick it up at verse 10. We're going to read 10 through 12, and then we're going to skip. Go ahead and read, bruh.
And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious.
We read about this root of Jesse earlier, right? The son of David. We read about this earlier. And it says, and his rest shall be glorious, right? Verse 11, go ahead and read, bruh.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea.
Okay, so he said he gonna gather them a second time. But I thought the Jews was already in the land though, brother Judah. What are we reading out of the book the second time? Obviously that ain't it. We reading it in black and white, right? We reading it in black and white. All these nations that he's going to gather us from are scattered throughout all the world. And guess what? All but one of them, which is Hamath, is a black nation.
Verse 12.
Verse 12.
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.
Right? From the four corners of the earth. Here's how an ensign works. For those of you who don't know, the only reason I know, because of the military, right? The ensign is your flag, your company flag, or your platoon flag, or whatever group you're with, right? Usually, we always have the American flag on our shoulder, right? However, when you go into basic training or boot camp, they instill or they learn you what an ensign is and how it operates. So when you see your company's flag go up, right, wherever that flag is planted, that's where you go and gather. That's what an ensign is, right? So wherever your flag is, you know that that's where you go to, whether you sleep, eat, it's for your gathering. You look, you see your ensign, oh, that's where my people at, right over there, right? It's an identifying marker. Where we at?
15.
Go ahead and read. Skip down to 15.
And the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the 7 streams, and make men go over dry shod.
So there we go. See, the men going over dry shod. Ain't that what happened when the children came out of Israel? They went on dry land. Yep. It's going to happen again. We reading it. It's going to play out the exact same way. Right? Go ahead and read.
And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt.
And he said exactly that in black and white. This going to play out just the way it did when the children of Israel were led out of Egypt. Right? Ezekiel chapter 20. Ezekiel chapter 20, and I think we got three more after this.
Yes, sir.
Ezekiel chapter 20. So we done passed over dry shod, right? Upon Jesus' return, he done gathered all of Israel one by one, right? Now he gonna take us. We going over dry shod. Let's see what else he gonna do with us. That they did in Moses' time. Ezekiel 20, pick it up at verse 34. Ezekiel 20 and 34. When you get it, my brother, go ahead and read.
And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out.
Ain't that how he brought Israel out when they was in Egypt? Okay, here we go. Read.
And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, said the Lord God.
Is this not verbatim? This is the lesson right here. He said, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. It's all going to happen. This is going to be a repeat event, right? Go ahead and read, bro.
And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
So whether you familiar with covenants or not, the Lord is a covenant God. So the same covenant that he had back then, it makes no sense to teach against it. Because you're going to live all your life, and then you're going to come to this moment, if you make it, and you're not already in the covenant. And you're going to have to realize, okay, yeah, they did lie to me. I am supposed to keep the commandments and the feast days. I can't eat anything because some of these things have a function that the Lord don't want us to deal with or interrupt. That's the dietary law. I do have to act a certain way to other human beings. Because when I'm living around the Lord, he ain't going to want to put up with it. Where we at? 38?
Yes, sir.
Let's get it.
And I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgressed against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am the Lord.
He said, I will purge out from among you. I'm getting rid of, trimming the fat, right? The rebels. Everybody knows what a rebel is, right? And he says, and them that transgress against me. We just reading all this over and over and over again, right? Did we finish that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Acts chapter 7. Acts chapter 7. Here's a situation that takes place that is also similar. Acts chapter 7, we're going to read one verse here. We're going to read verse 35. Because they asked Moses a question. Right? They asked Moses a question. 7:35. Go ahead and read, bro.
This Moses whom they refused, saying, who made thee a ruler and a judge? The same did God send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the angel which appeared to him in the bush.
So this Moses, right? Who is this Moses? This Moses is the man that the Lord chose to do what he needed him to do, which was to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. Why? Because when they cried out aloud together on one accord, the Lord heard them and delivered them. Right? Acts chapter 4. And remember, Moses also was of the tribe of Levi. Aaron was the older brother. Moses was the intercessor that God dealt with face to face. But Aaron was the high priest. It wasn't about titles. It was about that work. Aaron, you can have that title. I'm over here. right? They played their own roles. Acts 4, pick it up at verse 10. We're going to read 10 through 12. Go ahead and read, my brother.
Be it known unto you all and to all the people of Israel that by the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, whom ye crucified, whom God raised from the dead, even by him doth this man stand here before you whole.
So he's identifying. Again, you can argue the name, but you can't argue the fruit. Right? He said, this Jesus Christ of where? Nazareth. Identifying his birthplace, right? Where he's from, right? Whom you crucified. Right? God raised from the dead. Then he goes on to explain to him, even by him does this man stand before you whole. Go ahead and read.
This is the stone which was set at naught of you builders, which is become the head of the corner.
This one that y'all crucified, Jesus of Nazareth, whom you crucified, he, the one that God the Father raised, he's the cornerstone. Go ahead and read.
Neither is there salvation in any other.
Go ahead and read.
For there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved.
Which name is popular amongst the Gentiles? Jesus. Brother Judah, Jesus and Moses, they ain't the same. What's so similar about that? The similitude is neither one of them is Hebrew. That's how they similar. Who was in charge in Moses' time? Egypt was the world power. Who was in charge in Jesus' time? The same people in charge now, the Gentile. The Lord gave each one of the sons of Noah a time to reign. Ham, which was Egypt. We messed it up, Shem, right? Yeah. And now Japheth. That's where we at. That's the similitude between all of that. So again, you can argue the name, but you can't argue the fruit. We have a more sure word of prophecy. Prophecy talks about identifying people by their fruit. In case you missed it. That's what we read. That's what we read today. Where we at?
That was
last one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, last one. Acts
3.
chapter 3. Oh, so you had another one?
No.
Okay, Acts chapter 3. The sad part is we done read that the Egyptians done identified God. The magicians, not just any, they had status quo in their kingdom. No, we can't. That's God. Yeah. Same thing happening today. People identifying God of another nation. But Israel, we don't even consider. Right? But this lesson is for all. For people who are hearing this, listen, how do you identify Jesus? Because the argument comes up, hey man, do y'all believe in Jesus? We absolutely believe in Jesus. That's who we teach. Right? Acts 3, pick it up at verse 19. Go ahead and read.
Repent ye therefore, and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out, when the times of refreshing shall come from the presence of the Lord.
Repent is the message. Be converted that your sins may be blotted out. What is sin? Sin is the transgression of the law. Go ahead and read.
And he shall send Jesus Christ, which before was preached unto you.
Jesus was preached to us beforehand. We read Jesus out of the Old Testament. We started off reading about him in Deuteronomy. Read.
Whom the heaven must receive until the times of restitution of all things, which God had spoken by the mouth of all his holy prophets since the world began.
He spoke, the Lord spoke this by the mouth of his prophets since the world began. Again, we have a more sure word of prophecy. Read.
For Moses truly said unto the fathers, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things, whatsoever he shall say unto you.
Okay, so the Lord, Moses talking to Israel, the Lord gonna raise up a prophet like me. like him, like Moses. And we just read through similitude after similitude after similitude that Jesus is that prophet. Jesus with a J, might I add. Verse 23, go ahead and read.
And it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people.
We hope and pray you got some understanding in Jesus' name. Now we will have the announcements. Please, brothers and sisters, pay attention to the announcements. Because somebody going to ask me, hey, when we doing? I'm going to be like, did you listen to the announcement?
Happy Sabbath. Happy Sabbath. Let us give another round of applause to Brother Judah and Brother Wilson.